in this episode 11 is all about the power of Emily Harrison, changing the planet one student at a time. And Emily Harrison's, after becoming a certified Akashic Records practitioner in 2015, Emily's life shifted dramatically in Hollywood. Emily created a healing business that includes teaching, speaking, contributing to the Huffington Post, and mentoring other light workers in the Akashic Records. Emily is the founder director of the Akashic Academy. It's a modern day mystery school dedicated to sharing knowledge that is changing the planet. Like we said, one student at a time. Hello, Emily.
Hello, my friend. It's so good to connect with you. Thank you for having me on your show today.
No, thank you for saying yes. I know you're very busy. I see you from time to time. And
yes.
it's been a couple months, but I always, I like to follow and see what's happening. So I guess we're just going to dive in, just maybe find out a little bit more about you, who you are, and I guess what your mission is, your purpose.
I love getting to share this because it excites me. I get very grounded and centered before I go on, and then I start talking about my mission and how exciting it is to connect people with a level of intelligence that can begin to guide your life moment by moment, keeping you on course, because this huge transition that we're experiencing right now as a collective really is requiring us to recognize when we're off course, how we can course correct very, very quickly and effectively. So the Akashic Records are more of a tool. I call them more of a tool than a modality. They are an aspect of connection that help me personally, and they've helped me so profoundly, which is why I want to show up and let other people know you have this gift and skill too. To not only guide my direction, I know so many people out there, I see a couple of my students out there, I know my students have big direction, big vision, big goals in their lives. If you're watching here today, I have a feeling you do too, because this is how we show up. We show up in each other's energy field to support and to lift up this rise. And by learning how to develop my intuition, develop my psychic skills, which is how you learn to communicate with the energies that we cannot perceive through our physical senses. And the vast majority of the universe, by the way, is non-physical energy. Of the entirety of the electromagnetic spectrum of energy, you guys want to know how much of it we perceive with our five senses? 0.003%, which is 0.003 of 1%.
My goodness.
It is absolutely minimal. So when we begin to open up our consciousness, expand our awareness, what becomes possible for the human being is very exciting. It will blow your mind. And I know that many people are looking for this kind of magic, this kind of joy, we want to know what it is that we need to fill in so that we can experience this grandeur. And while I've been one of those big dreamers, many of you know that I started out my life very small town Missouri. I quit college, hightailed it to Hollywood of all places, where I spent 20 years as an actress, which was incredible training ground for what I do now. And I'll explain a little bit more about some of the synchronicities I found, that how my life was actually showing up to support me, even though it seemed like I was in a completely different field. Because I know many of you are transitioning careers as well. And there are ways that you can begin to look at what's already going on in your work situation that can help you make that jump into a more spiritually aligned career. But for me, I packed up from Missouri. I took off to Hollywood and dove into a very, very crazy adventure, which opened me to learning more about metaphysics. Growing up very small town Missouri, I went to the Southern Baptist Church. That was my experience with spirituality, which part of it I really loved when the choir would start singing, and I was all up about the youth group in there. Just singing in the choir. I'd feeling it. We did puppets. I was a puppeteer too. I was a traveling puppeteer. I would get down with that experience of just being present with people and sharing and creating that space of love. But when I had to start talking like the preacher and letting people know that they were going to go to hell if they didn't accept Jesus as their savior, I don't know. It began to feel a little inauthentic. I've always been very much loving being in that space of spirit, but very rebellious too. You know, I was sneaking out of my house in that small town, Missouri. I've always had both of those light and dark parts of myself. So once I left that small town and went to Hollywood, I was open to a lot more acceptable thoughts, mindsets, opportunities to learn and grow and grow, like diving into meditation. That was something that was really powerful for me. It began to help me to manage my own energy. And when I found that I could manage my own energy, my world became so much more malleable. Christine, I got so many more acting jobs when I knew how to properly manifest and magnetize my energy. So I became hooked on what it meant to dive into meditation. Very surfacey reasons, to be honest, was what really got me started. But any of you guys who have been on this experience know it does not matter where you start or why you start. There are a lot of people who start because of an illness, because of a sickness, or maybe you get very depressed. I was very depressed too in that space. I felt like I was giving away a lot of my artistry and my creativity, and I felt like there was more for me in my life. And this idea of learning about my energy and being able to shift my energy was honestly more exciting to me than staying in the depression and staying in, the old energies. And the meditation is what really helped me harness enough of my own power. And it doesn't matter where you start. If you stick with it in a disciplined way and you nurture whatever is feeding your soul, whether it's yoga or hiking, with an intention to go inward and grow, when you continue to do those activities, you're going to find yourself expanding, your consciousness expanding.
Totally.
And this is what I found, right?
No, and I totally agree. Meditation, I'm always touting it, and I'm sure some of my followers there might be some eye rolls in there, but don't worry. Just that's your ego talking. And
Yes.
Hey, and once you get that under control, that's your shadow self, your integration, however you want to talk about it. But when you talk about, having fun and all that, I just think, sacral chakra, I pulled this today, all about having fun, inner child. Emily definitely has harnessed her inner child. From the moment I met her,
I let her come out and play.
There you go. And I mean, it just, when you talk, yeah, I can feel that off of you,
Thank you. Well, everybody, let's just pause and bring your inner child into this space today. This is a safe space. Bring your shadow self into this space. There is no aspect of the human experience that can't be illuminated in love and light in this space. That was what really drew me to being an actress, was the idea of storytelling and illuminating the human experience through my physical body, which, when I talk about boot camp, Hollywood being my boot camp, this completely toned my vessel for channeling. And I did not realize that was what was happening at the time. But as I started to meditate and really dive in, parallel to my time in Hollywood, the two processes began to intersect each other, which is what happens when we begin to feed our own expansion of our consciousness. Eventually, all aspects of your life will weave themselves together, and every place that you show up in life will be part of your spiritual journey. So acting, it got to the point where acting was not non-synonymous with my spiritual journey. Everything was moving very cyclically together.
Yeah.
And I found that with acting, you have to completely let go of editing yourself. You got to get out of your own way. You got to be willing to fall on your face and be just a complete flop I can't tell you how many times I've flopped in acting class, and it's just it's just what you have to get out of your own way and do.
Yes, definitely,
And getting out of
definitely.
your way that profoundly is what allowed me to realize, oh, you know what? I think I can channel messages just like I was acting and channeling a character.
Yeah, because you're open. You're
Because
open.
you're open and you just stop
Yes.
editing yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Another area where that playful dynamic comes in. You got to be willing to play with yourself. You can quote me on that one, by the way.
All right. Well, I'm going to segue into a few people that have said hello.
Yes,
Hello.
let's say
Am
hello.
I pronouncing Anise? Anise?
Yeah, well, and I call her Inez, but
Inez.
truthfully, I sound people's names out and pronounce them however they come out of my mouth, and I've
Okay.
never officially asked her. She says it was such a beautiful accent. If you say it with an accent, I think you can get away with whatever pronunciation you
Okay.
want.
There you go.
Inez.
She'll correct us if we're wrong. And Kristen is saying hi, Emily.
Hello, Kristen. It's so good to see you.
Very nice.
I saw
And
Kinzel in there too.
yes, and Kirath.
Oh, yes,
Maharal.
Karith.
Karith. Okay. And Brenda. Hello, Brenda. Nice to see
Hi.
you. And Kenzel Mitchell, she has shared with Healing
Kinzel.
from Missouri. Very nice. Very nice. Thank you. And what's this message here? Oh, there we go. Hopefully we're saying this correctly here. It's not showing on the stream. It's very slow. There we go. So he's talking about universal time against our own time zone.
Well, we can dive in and talk more about the mechanics of time, how we're experiencing it, how it truly is. As our consciousness expands, by the way, which we're doing very, very rapidly, all in our own ways, the old constructs that go along that match that smaller range of consciousness that we had, like linear time, begin to break down. And you might find yourself experiencing real things in your life that make you go, what the hell just happened? Things that feel very, very magical as this quantum understanding of time opens up. We're experiencing more things like the mandala effect. This is where there is a collective difference in the memory, recorded, documented history, but there's a collective difference in the memory of how people experienced that. I had a really crazy experience in the wintertime. I live right outside of Lake Tahoe, and we were skiing.
Nice.
Oh, it's amazing in the Lake Tahoe National Forest, which is a magical vortex.
I'm sure it is.
And Mike and I were walking into the ski lodge. The kids were out still on the slope skiing, and we were walking into the ski lodge, and we looked down in front of us, and there was a giant black glove on the floor. And without saying anything, we both had an instinct to pick it up, but looked around and there wasn't really any place to put it, like to set it up for somebody, but it was wide open right there. So I figured somebody's going to come back and find that glove. So we get upstairs, take off all the ski gear, go to the bar, we get a beer. Yes, I went to the bar and get a beer. Okay, fine, we got a beer. I drink coffee too, okay?
Oh yeah, it's all good.
There's Shadow Emily coming in.
Just be you.
So you can balance. You can balance all of these things. But there you go. I don't talk about my drinking beer very much on the air. I usually cuss. That's usually how I present my rebel nature. So sitting there having a beer, and look down, and Mike's glove isn't there. He's like, "Where's my glove?" Now, when we walked into the ski lodge, we were both fully dressed in our gear. We had not taken our gear off yet. Oh. And so we both looked at each other and said, "Do you think that's my glove down there?" I'm like, "Go find out." And he went down and he came back and his face was just white. And he was like, "That is my glove." And it was the perfect match. I mean, think about a glove. It's a left and right match. Mm-hmm. And he said, and it was the same brand of glove in the same size, which was just crazy. He said the only difference was this glove that he had picked up, it had a little hole like in the palm.
Okay.
And so my assessment was, of course, that was probably just the blowout of moving through whatever wormhole we just moved through. But that is crazy. It was undeniable that there was some breakdown of the time-space continuum, how we used to experience, and moving into this new aspect of being more multidimensional. How many of you guys have experienced something crazy like that?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, feel free to, this is an interactive show. If you guys have a question, it's never silly. And you're probably asking a question that someone else would like to ask, but they're not, feeling confident to do so. So step up and ask a question.
And nice.
Because
Well,
you never know.
while people are asking questions, let me just bring the Akashic Records back into significance of all of this powerful shifting that we're experiencing. As our consciousness begins to expand, we have a natural curiosity to want to know more. Like, what the hell is going on with the way I'm experiencing time? What is going on with, sometimes it's not as crazy and woo-woo as that. Sometimes we're experiencing major shifts in our life where the old relationships that used to support us are no longer supporting us. Maybe you're finding that you're getting to the point where you're so fed up with your 9-to-5 job. You're so tired of being uninspired and going through the same Groundhog Day anymore that you can't, there's got to be something else.
Yes.
What's at the root of this is you are wired to understand that there is knowledge within you. And when we can learn to open and access that level of connection to the Akashic Records, which are the realm of consciousness where every single detail about you has been recorded from a neutral perspective, which means unconditional love and zero judgment, past, present, all possible futures. Not only recorded about you, but every single thing in the cosmos. This is like the sacred library. When we recognize that we can go in and access that, this becomes the level of knowledge that we need. You cannot get this knowledge from other people. I can teach you how to connect into yours, but this is what your soul is seeking and looking for, is this level of knowledge, connection, and clarity where you know that you have access to universal wisdom. This is what truly levels the playing field, brings us all into the exact same space when nobody can lie to you, when you cannot lie to yourself.
True enough.
The world shifts and changes. And this is an aspect of our expanding consciousness that I'm so excited to share with people, because it is a rapid developer of the consciousness.
And I mean, would you say past lives? People talk about past lives, or it's an inherent, family trait. I want to break, the trauma or the pain, or relearning the same lesson. Why does this keep happening to me? Why do I keep attracting the same people? Stuff like that.
100%. If every detail of your soul's record, past, present, all possible futures, including past lives, all of this is available to you within the space of the Akashic Records. So it's one thing that I do with clients and students is moving back into those aspects of our past lives, which again, it's easy for us to look at past life because we are experiencing a linear timeline continuum. But a more appropriate truth would be to recognize that this is all happening at the same time.
Okay.
Our consciousness, our human consciousness and awareness can't participate in all of that at the same time. Just like you can't participate in your life being present. You can't participate with being present here with Christine and I while you're thinking about what you still need to do and what you got to do, and you're here and you're here and you're here.
Yes.
So it doesn't really damn matter if you've been doing it in past lives or you're doing it right now. That's it's fun and mystical and magical to go back into our past lives and to It strengthens our ability to make symbolic sense and connection with our present life. And truthfully, spirit, the energies, we're spoken to in symbolism.
Mm-hmm.
Color, light, frequency, feelings you're getting in your body,
Yes.
imagery that you're getting, spirit speaking to you in symbolism anyway.
Yeah.
So if you like to experience your symbolism back in your past life, fine. It's also helpful to understand that every aspect is reflected in your present life in the now moment. And if you can find it in the now moment, you can shift and heal it more dynamically. There are ways that you can go back and shift it in past life. If you feel like, no, it is stuck in that past life, I got to go back into that past life and get it, you can do that. You can go back in through the space of the Akashic Records, and there are simple techniques that you can use that quantumly shift the energy. One of them is just by adding light. Light particles are knowledge, they're information, they're the expansion of consciousness. We don't think of light necessarily as stored information, but it is. And information can heal a situation.
Definitely.
So when you bring awareness, and we're magical beings, we can conduct that light with our intention. Calling light in.
Yeah, but it starts with the inner healing. You've got to you got to find, everybody has that light. It's a matter of peeling away the layers. And the layers.
100%.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, I have another group called Healing Begins, where your ego ends. And that's essentially because at some point you've edged out that part of yourself, the light, God, Buddha, consciousness, Divine Mother, whoever you believe in. It's been programmed into you since an early age, since you were born, but you were born perfectly. Somewhere along the way, I know myself, I forgot. I was labeled too sensitive, black sheep, crazy even. And I say, yeah, I am. I'm crazy. I lost my mind because I found myself. However you want to look at it, and really the opinions of other people do not matter.
It's hugely important, and I'm glad that you're touching on this, because I'm saying, oh yes, I can put you in touch with your master intelligence. They're absolutely 100% purification rituals that must be gone through before you get access. And that has to do with knowing and loving yourself, and it has to do with deprogramming.
Yes.
Because self-love is the access point. It's directly connected to how high you're going to get to go. Once you get yourself up there in the Akashic Records, you start getting that master information, which, by the way, every single person can connect. And I have a feeling that many of you likely have connected, whether you have consciously done it or not.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if you are on the journey of expanding and awakening, this tool is available to you. Your guides are going to be connecting to you and communicating from this realm in some way, whether it's your dreams, whether it's an aha moment that flashes through your mind. So I encourage you to continue to build your awareness of the space. Just building the awareness of the space is going to allow you to use it more dynamically, regardless of if you dive in and study. However, I will tell you, people who dive in with mentorship, that was a huge stepping stone for me too. And I'd like to hear about your experience too, Christine. I was self-taught for a long time before I hit that point where I'm like, oh, wow, this is absolutely undeniable that I have turned on my psychic abilities. I didn't feel like I was born psychic necessarily, but after that, it's a byproduct of being in this energy. You meditate long enough, you're going to start turning them on. Definitely. And I wanted to dive in and learn with a master level mentor. And that took me on a very, very quantum expansion. What was your journey like? Are you somebody who's always had mentors? Did you have to build up to that space? Because I know a lot of people are self-studied and self-taught.
Yes. My whole life I've had these gifts. They came out in the wrong way. Depression, anxiety. I didn't know what to do with that energy. Being an empath, I work with a lot of empaths or sensitives. And we're just our old souls as well. And those wounds go way deeper than just at the normal levels. But Yeah, my mentor, I found a video of hers, and she basically said your anxiety and depression is linked to being highly intuitive, and you have other gifts, by the way. Did you know this? I'm like, what? What's going on? So I was gifted. I had to step out of my comfort zone and do a 2-minute video on why I wanted to take this scholarship and mentorship. And I mean, I still have the video on YouTube. It's private, but I go back and look at it and I'm like, oh man, just the journey. Once I opened up and let go of all this stuff and the crap. I mean, I had some health challenges in that year because, yeah, when you're wound up so tight in fight or flight,
Yes.
as you let go, then it's letting go of all the stuff. So that stuff I was holding on to could have manifested into a cancer or something else, something worse. I lucked out only having a fibroid and a blood clot in my leg. Yes. So.
And that's what happens when we hold density.
Yes.
Because the emotional density that you're holding from the belief systems that are not serving you will manifest into physical dis-ease or emotional dis-ease.
Yes.
I was in incredible emotional dis-ease. No, I found myself very depressed because I had gotten to the end of Hollywood making me happy anymore. And I had put moving from a small town and packing up and taking off and going on that journey. It felt to me like there were so many people along the journey with me, my friends, my family, like everybody who had been behind me for so long, that it felt like I was letting a lot of people down by making a shift. And so I had gotten to the point where I had held on longer than was obviously serving me. And it was draining my energy and making me very depressed. And I had to move through that process of being
and it is a process.
Dis-ease.
And there is no, oh, I want that easy button. I don't want to do all the work. I just want everything to be, I want to be Zen. I'm like, no, that's your ego talking. Well,
it might not be easy, but I can make it fun.
Exactly.
It really, when you can bring a spirit, and that's why the records are so powerful, because the energy naturally facilitates a non-judgmental quality. It's like hard to describe. When you go into that space, you are actually shifting your consciousness, which allows you to experience your thoughts, your memories, your energy from a non-judgmental space. And it's hard to explain that without an experience. It's hard to describe food to someone that they've never eaten before.
True
It's
enough.
It's hard to bridge that gap.
It's your own experience.
Yes, but
and everybody is different. So.
There's a quality to this realm. It's like a plasmic quality that just allows you to get it more dynamically. If you're willing to release any tension that you have in that space, allow yourself to become soft.
Yeah.
That means in your mind, it means in your body, it means in your breath.
More heart.
You can begin to open and access your intuition, your ability to receive whatever wisdom that is appropriate for you.
Definitely. I don't want to forget anybody that's here. Katrina Love, this is her first time at 24 Karat Healing. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And the reason for the name, my last name is Gold. And if you're a science nerd, then I guess you might get it. If not, it doesn't matter, right? I'm not a science nerd, but anyways. And Katrina has, she said she's been to read her records through guided meditation, but when she opened the book, she couldn't read anything. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. Because this is a space that is coming more into the awareness of the collective consciousness right now. So in terms of being a skill that everybody can just pick up and instantly do, we'll get to that point one day. We're building the muscles that are allowing us to collectively bring it back online.
Makes sense.
So eventually it will look very, very clear. Right now, for certain people, I pride myself in being one of them because I've given a lot of my mind and heart and attention to this space. It is very clear.
Mm-hmm.
It can become very clear once you learn how to interpret the energy that you are getting from that space. But it doesn't necessarily start super clear for everyone. And it doesn't necessarily grow into a skill that looks like, oh, I'm opening up a book and I'm reading in the way that if you very literally interpreted the name of my mentorship course, Learn to Read the Akashic Records, it would feel like somewhere you're astral traveling and you're going into a library and you're pulling up the file and you're pulling it out and you're reading it. But that's just one aspect of how we human beings personify and experience the story.
Yes.
So if you are more adapt to experiencing color, there are ways that I would like to teach you how to learn to use your ability to interpret the symbolism behind color. Numbers. Christine, you're a big number girl. You talked about the number breakdown of this particular episode and the date of it, and it was really quite profound. So some people really resonate to the vibrational frequency of numbers. So it's about learning what where your natural giftings are, starting there and beginning to develop those. But once we recognize and begin to fine tune the difference between clairaudience, clairvoyance, claircognizance, clairsentience, these are our psychic senses, our inward senses.
Yes.
So your inward vision, your inward hearing, your inward feeling, and your inward knowing. When you begin to exercise and understand the differences between these, you begin to see, oh, I see how I'm clairvoyant there. Oh, I was actually clairaudient there. So you begin to recognize how it's working for you and how your patterns are naturally playing out. And then they all begin to strengthen. They become like a symphony that work together.
Mm-hmm.
It's been buried for a long time. It's rising.
Yes.
This technology had been buried with the sinking of ancient Atlantis and ancient Lemuria.
Mm-hmm. And I have mermaid, yeah, lineage, but which it makes total sense because I love water. But I'm just reading through a few more here.
Yes. Any comments or questions that people have before
Joy kind of had the same question, that she took a course on the Akashic Records and she also could not read or see anything. And first thing I think of is, unfortunately, that's the ego wanting to be like, I got to see this butterfly, or I got to see these numbers, and it must be this way. There is no right or wrong way. It will come to you once you surrender and let go.
Yes, and I want to say to Joy, and was it Kristen was the other Christina, who was joining us, who said that they took a course and didn't experience what they had wanted to experience. What I want to say to you is you still were attuned with powerful energy from the records. And I know that the characteristic of the records is to impart exactly what you need. As practitioners, as we're learning to show up and gather with each other in sacred ceremony and sacred class time and sacred learning and imparting the skills on how to do this, we're recognizing how to be good teachers of it as well. And so there are many teachers who teach a certain way that might not have been the right timing, but I honor your draw to that space, and I can just feel the energy confirming right now that being in the presence of the energy of your Akashic Records, Joy and Christina, you both had incredible expansion, and to keep at it, to stay, because the records are drawing you for a reason. If the records call you, they're calling you for a reason.
Keep showing up.
Keep going.
And that includes all the practices that you do every day to reach that higher consciousness.
Yes.
And stay in the higher vibration as well. I highly recommend a dream journal. I tell all of my clients, and they're always like, well, I don't remember my dreams. That's right, because you never done that before. And
Mm-hmm.
you're going to instill here that yes, and to the heart, okay, I got one sentence out, or I saw a few things. And then you're
Mm-hmm.
going to start writing pages like I do every day. It's, you get so many signs, symbols, synchronicities through your dreams. It's going to blow your mind. I'd say just try. Just try.
I second that. And
Mm.
I'll also share with you that patterns tend to move through my awareness in students and clients and myself as well. And this idea of exploring what's going on in our dream time is so on the front burner right now.
Mm.
So, beginning to recognize that we are much more than the physical container and the awake time that we spend here on this planet. We're participating in a lot more. I had massive downloads last night from Mount Shasta all night long. I just kept getting up and just like scribbling down. And truthfully, guys, not all of it is coherent and makes a lot of sense. Some of them are just, well, some of it's so damn scribbled, I got to be like,
Yeah, I'm the same way.
huh? However, again, I know that the energy was moving through me. I could feel the joy and
Mm-hmm.
and then just like, damn, that makes sense. You guys ever get downloads and you just like wait, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, my life makes so much sense. I'm not sure why, but it totally does. I was experiencing this all night last night. So I must second that. Pay attention to the dreams. Be as present and engaged with the energy as you can, even if it means you're just slopping something silly down right next to
Mm-hmm.
your bed. It's an acknowledgement of the energies that you're experiencing. And I'm so excited to share more about Shasta. You had mentioned that I could share opportunities with your audience here. So I want to let you guys know that there is a brand new mastermind program opportunity. This is for very, very high level training. And for those of you who are interested, it involves the 4 months of learning to read the Akashic Records with me, along with a retreat with the Ascended Masters into the planetary vortex of Mount Shasta. I have not released this to the public yet. And it is a very, very limited engagement. So for those of you who are interested in knowing more about this, simply comment yes. I will reach out to you and let you know more about this opportunity. And I'm excited to know if there are more questions out there. Do people have questions about the
Okay. Yeah.
records
No,
or
there
areas of
are.
their life? So
There
let's dive
are.
into those.
I'm going to pronounce this, Anise. She went
Anines.
through deep depression for a long time
Mm-hmm.
before truly stepping into my truth and gifts. And I also see my experience as a classroom for what I am doing now.
Yes. Inez is very, very gifted, and she led the full and new moon ceremonies inside the Akashic Academy membership program last
Oh,
month.
nice. Nice.
Woo! So powerful.
Amazing. That's amazing. I work with moon energy as well because I just being an empath, the power of what the moon, I mean, if it
Mm-hmm.
can control water and everything, I mean, come on, you got to work with that. So I'm all about the new moon and full moon energies as well. Marianne is saying, hello, lovely
Hi,
people. Hello,
Marianne.
Marianne. Joy is saying thank you. She'll continue to ascend. That's amazing. And
Yes.
Kristen is saying yes. So
Yes.
it looks like she wants to join you on your journey together in Mount Shasta.
I had the privilege of going to Mount Shasta and meeting just one of those profound soul contract meetings. Paul of Venus, who is the most gifted, not only, I call him just a sacred guiding guardian of the mountain. He knows where the sacred vortexes are, the off-grid ones. He took Kirillani and I in to meditate in some of the vortexes with the Ascended Masters. And it's a life-changing experience. So
Mm.
I am so privileged to be connected with those who can give us the the VIP Starseed experience, you guys.
There you go.
This is like going to Egypt and going into the secret tunnels inside the pyramids. I can't even tell you how powerful it is to be there and to be learning with other masters. I am on fire about this, so I'm excited for those of you who are excited too.
Beautiful. And looks like a Boggy has showed up.
Buggy!
Care Bear share if you dare. That's
My
cute.
Sifu
Yes.
trains me in Qigong. Great way to open up your body, your meridians,
Yeah.
getting the energy flowing. Expansion of consciousness will be a side effect of Tai Chi, Qigong, yoga. Any of these body, mind, spirit practices that you're doing are going to begin to open you up, and they're really important in supporting your growth as a light worker. So if you don't tend to get up off of wherever you like to park yourself and get your body moving, light workers, it's a must, because you got to be able to move the energy through the physical body. Embodiment is one of the most powerful tools we have as a human being. So don't let your bodies get too sedentary. Okay, you got to keep it moving.
Beautiful. Yeah, I do the yoga, the Qigong, and I would totally, and the stretching alone and the mind-body connection, the grounding. I was never one for yoga. I was always hit it hard, the gym, go, go, go. Now I'm like, gym, I lift a few weights, but now I'm all about the grounding, stretching aspect. And I have managed to maintain my weight for 3 years. So obviously there's something to it.
I don't have much of a weight problem. You guys want to know what my secret is to not having any weight problem? It's kind of embarrassing, but I'll tell you. And I'll tell you where I do have a problem: when I don't do enough physical movement, which I'm guilty. I have been sitting in front of my computer probably 10 hours a day. I go in like cheetah creation mode. I'm creating all this great content. But my back will go out. I had 3 reasonably large babies on this little body.
Oh boy.
And so if I don't keep the energy moving, like in my back body, my sacral back body,
the lumbar region,
it'll tweak out on me. So that's what happens to me if I don't move a lot. I don't tend to gain a lot of extra weight, but you want to know why?
There you go.
Oh, this is really embarrassing, but it's true. Okay, it's true. I'll tell you
it's all good. It's all and hey, be vulnerable. The more vulnerable we are, the more bridging happens, the more connection happens. And Alexia is asking, could you please give me some insight on my energy? What to shift, if possible, please?
Absolutely. Let me just tune in for you quickly, Alexia. Yeah, the giving away of your power is very, very big right now. And here's what I see is that when you begin to take your power back, you begin to look at yourself, you begin to love yourself, and you begin to own who you are, the nature of your question will change. And when you show up in this space, instead of saying, could you please give me some insight on my energy, what to shift, you'd be like, how do I turn on more of my dream powers? Because and you have a direction of where you're going. And that, because we operate under the prime directive of free will in this zone, in this planetary zone that we're in, that is the one area where if you are not grabbing by the balls, see there, I got a little kind of vulgar. It's not really cussing, but I got you hear the vulgar there. If you are not stepping up and grabbing by the balls, what you want in life, then that's the first plateau that you want to get to. You want to get direct and honest with yourself and say, Alexa, damn it, what is it that I want to do? What do I love? What lights me up? Where do I feel very passionate and very curious?
Yeah.
Some people can't find that spot in their life. I recognize sometimes you get to the spot where you're like, I don't even know, Emily. Go back to that child. What did you like to do when you were a kid? I was interested in space. I wanted to be an astronaut. I also like to pretend that I was an artist running my own gallery and I would paint really bad pictures. I would take fake phone calls and I would paint bad pictures and I would write down and I would put them up and I did all of that stuff, okay? So you got to dive in. Let yourself go back to what
Mm,
made you. Doesn't mean that it's what's going to make you happy now, but it's going to trigger that essence of you connecting with that energy, which will open it up for you.
definitely. And I see a lot of yellow around her, so I think solar plexus. Your
Awesome.
power.
Perfect.
And September is
Yes.
all about power, heart, and integration. That's the energy for September,
Mm-hmm.
actually for the next couple months. But yeah, and I wanted to be a dancer, and my sister and we're very close. We're only like a year and 3/4 apart, but we had our own talk show.
Awesome.
Yeah,
That's right.
I know. So look what's happening.
I also built imaginary condos in the magnolia trees. And some of the really bendy ones, like if the branch wasn't super mature yet, it had a little
Hmm.
bend to it. So you
Nice.
could go from one of the upper stories of the magnolia tree, just grab onto one of those branches and like swing down, and it was like an elevator. So
Fun.
dive back, yeah, follow
Yeah,
your childhood self back into
definitely.
that place where you can really identify what it is that makes you you, and it is exciting to you now, because I can tell you self-love again is the key.
Mm.
And if you don't know or love, if one does not know or love themselves enough to say what makes them passionate, what lights them up, then that's where you want to work.
Definitely. Couldn't agree more on that. Our Sifu here, his ascension is
Sifu.
my bad.
Yes.
Funny.
Okay, I have to wrap up with everyone here
Yes,
because I have a
you
call at
have.
the top of the hour, but I have to tell you my secret. I can't
Okay, yes,
get out
because
without
Kristen's
telling you the
asking.
beauty
She's
secret.
like, okay, here we go. Are
So,
we ready?
back in my Hollywood days, is my face already getting red? I know, I'm trying to pick all my hair off of my face here. Okay. I took a course called The Artist's Way. Has anyone ever heard of The Artist's Way before? It's a really powerful process for self excavation, this idea of deprogramming. Now, it wasn't super woo woo in terms of being metaphysical. It was, but it was a little, it was more packaged for artists who needed to dive down and get to be able to be raw with their emotions. And we talked a lot about synchronicities and the synchronicities that would come up throughout this process. But it was really this peeling away. And part of what you had to do to peel away was morning pages. And morning pages are 3 pages of writing out whatever you write out in the morning, whether it's dumping your mind of the grocery list, the laundry list, the things you have, things you're pissed about, what you dreamt, whatever it was, right? It's just a dumping, it's a mind dump. And it's a really powerful practice. However, I would get to the point where I get stuck like a page and a half, and I'd be like, damn, I gotta get another page and a half out of here. What am I gonna write? And so I would just write repeatedly, I am thin and beautiful. And and I continued this practice for many, many years. And I'll be honest with you, I feel like I definitely probably reprogrammed some of my energy and some of my genetics, because my body was not always really naturally thin. I worked at it during my early Hollywood years and my late college years. I found myself really uncomfortable in my own physical body, and I didn't like the size that I was, and I was always wrestling with that and counting calories and all of that shit.
Makes sense.
And then I gave it up after. All it'll take is a couple years of writing "I am thin and beautiful" in your notebooks.
There you
See, and
go.
that's why it's
Amazing.
embarrassing.
Amazing.
But that's my secret.
I don't think it's embarrassing. Actually, it's the power of intention and
Yes.
inherent belief. And somewhere
Yes.
in your subconscious, you held on to that and you
Yes.
let it go through writing. It kind of wrote all over it.
And I was an actress, and it was very helpful to be thin and beautiful. And see, there's a part of me that feels uncomfortable owning that now. Well, hell yes, that's what I did. I wanted to be thin and beautiful, so I wrote it down, and now here it is. It's still a little uncomfortable for me to step into that. So we're all just continuing to grow,
Yes,
along our own journeys. And
exactly.
I'll bring it back to just to share, since I'm already in this really vulnerable space. I'm gonna get really vulnerable and I'm gonna run
All
off
right.
here. Get
Okay.
out of here. um, talking about not having the revelation that you're looking for within the records. Truthfully, though, records will reveal what we're ready to learn about ourselves, and there are certain pains and densities and grievances that we've held so deeply that you might not love yourself enough yet to see. And this past eclipse season, this summer, has been very, very intense and deep for me. And there have been, specifically when I was 26 years old in Hollywood, and this is when I had the biggest successes of my life paired with the biggest failures, all in the same time, all in that same year. I realized that I had shoved so much shame and guilt and frustration and embarrassment about not succeeding how I wanted to succeed, that it wasn't until this past eclipse season, and I have been doing this work so deeply and dynamically and continuing to learn and grow and love myself more and more every day. It took up until this point before it could come to the surface and I could see how much pain I was holding on to, how much I needed healing from that. And it wasn't until I loved myself enough that I would have the skills to be able to clear it and move it that it would reveal itself to me.
Exactly.
So we're all continuing on that process, regardless of how mastery we are. There's always room to go.
Oh, there's levels beyond levels, and just because I'm on level 7 and someone's on 2 does not make me any better. Than we're here to share and to learn and to grow and connect. We were put on this planet for a reason. And I want to thank you for being here, Emily. It was
thank you too.
Pretty mind expansive, that's for sure. And if you'd love to connect with Emily, comment below. She has that beautiful retreat on Mount Shasta. You just have to comment yes. And my show is weekly as well. I have an intuitive energy messages. Go to YouTube for that every week. And I want to wish everyone love, light, and blessings. And please remember, healing begins where the ego ends. Take care.
Bye.